Alright, hey traders, TG Watkins here. It is December 2nd, so welcome to a new month. Boy, have we been kicking this thing off with really some crazy stuff happening out there in the market. We have been getting basically a 1, 2, 3 punch out there. First, we heard about the new COVID variant, Omicron, and then Jerome Powell said that inflation is no longer transient, and then we got news that Omicron has landed on our shores in America, in California, and actually heard that there was a second one, I think, I forget, Minnesota or something like that. So it's here. We got that new thing to deal with, and it's really going to be a big question of what are we going to do about it? How's the market going to be reacting? What are our politicians going to be doing about this? Do we have more lockdowns? How's the economy going to handle it? There is just a lot of chaos going around out there trying to figure out what are we going to do about this. So, in one sense, I think the more rational thing to look at this is that we have been living with COVID now for about 2 years, and we pretty much know what it is. We know how to deal with it. We're handling it. We've got all the things in place for the last 2 years. We can work from home. We've been wearing masks. We've got testing. We've got new treatments for it if you do get it. So it seems like we're doing fairly well with COVID in general, at least adapting and living with it. And then with the new Omicron, well, we just have to figure out how deadly it is or what the stats are on it. But my understanding, and again, I'm no doctor or anything, but my understanding is that as viruses get as they mutate and modify, that they get more contagious, but they should get weaker, so less deadly, because they want to survive and propagate. And so we'll have to see if that's the case with Omicron. If it is, and it turns out to be more or less like the flu, then maybe the markets can right themselves. Otherwise, this could be something a little bit more serious. Anyway, that was a long way of going around through all this stuff to kind of get started with it. But if you guys have any questions about me or who I am, you can come over here to profitpilot.com, and you can see that I write newsletters 2 times a week, and then you can go over to services and check out any of the things that I offer as far as the alerts or the education classes, anything else like that. So let's jump into the charts and take a look at what's going on. Now, I have been saying for a very, very long time that we need to see the S&P hit the daily 50 SMA. And lo and behold, that is exactly what we got. So basically, ever since price here has crossed the daily 50, I've been saying, hey, at some point, we're going to have to come back down and test the daily 50. I just didn't expect it to be because of all this news. I was kind of curious what was going to be the reason or the excuse to get this thing down there. And I was also correct in that it could get down there in a hurry. So that's exactly what happened. Now, it did start just going into Thanksgiving weekend or holiday right here. You can see that price got underneath the hourly 50, and what you'll notice is that the Moxie indicator has been declining the entire time. This is really pretty serious. This could tell this was going to be a big move to the downside, and you can see here that it started with an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0, and we could see that thing happening, and then we could see that price got rejected by the underside of the hourly 50, and then we had the news about Omicron the day after Thanksgiving, and then it bounced, but what did it do? Bounced right up into the underside of the hourly 50, then down, then up again, and once again into the underside of the hourly 50, until we then come down here and hit the daily 50. So generally speaking, I would look at the daily 50 as support, but we don't know it for sure yet. We have to keep waiting and watching and see what was happening. Now, if we look at the lower time frames, like the 15-minute time frame, one thing that I always talk about as well, you can see that price has not held that moving average each time it went over it. Now we're here, and I don't think that this would be resistance, mostly because the market has just moved down for so much so often for the last week and a half or something like that. It seems to me, with the support to the daily 50 and also just the fact that we've kind of gotten oversold, I mean, this thing was pretty pushed down pretty hard, that we should start seeing a little bit of a recovery rally of some sort. And so I'm curious to see if that's what we're seeing here on the 15-minute time frame. We're going to have to see price get up over the 15-minute 50 and then come back down to test the 15-minute 50 for support in order to go back up. So we're not out of the woods yet. Hopefully this is the end. I can't confirm it, and we're just going to have to wait and see what's going on here. But gosh, this was this is pretty brutal as far as that goes. We've also been seeing that breadth has been very poor, and so a lot of stocks were not doing well, and basically kind of signaling to the market, signaling to us that things were not doing well because most of the stocks were not in uptrends, which then also helped bring the whole stock market over. As far as the NASDAQ, I was also generally expecting the daily 50 to be a target, and so we're starting to get that as well. And what we could see here is that price basically got rejected by the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero, so that was all pretty good and orderly. And then it was taking a little bit of time here at the hourly 200 to figure out if it was going to be some support, and basically the daily 21 also. As it turns out, it was not support. I wasn't too surprised by that. And now we'll have to see if this has come down far enough that maybe price can start turning around, and maybe we'll find some support. Again, can't confirm it. We could keep going down from here. We're just not quite sure. I'm just kind of thinking, okay, maybe this has reached the point to where the selling is just overdone, and people are like, okay, let's bring this thing back up a little bit. All right, then if we get over to the IWM, I will say this one is a little concerning. Let me kind of go over to here. I'll give you a bigger picture. The biggest concern I have is the fact that we had a nice, let me get this thing adjusted, we had a nice up move right here, and then it just imploded, and that doesn't seem very good. This doesn't seem like it bodes very well for strength, because having this up move, I thought that was great. That's a breakout. You can see we've been trending sideways for so long, and we finally got a breakout, and it looked like a good breakout. But then after that breakout, I was expecting a pullback, of course, and I was willing to have that pullback come into about here, daily 50 or just below the daily 50. But this thing has gone so far down that it's basically come all the way back down into the low of this horizontal range, and I'm a little concerned about that. That seems very, very weak and very problematic. That was really a big deal. And what we could see here is on the hourly chart that price, kind of just like the S&P but different timelines, got rejected by the underside of the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator kept going below down, and then finally crossed over zero. You can see that right there, and it just kept going. The 8 stayed below the 21 the entire time, and then price, you could see, just never could even get close to the hourly 50, and the hourly 50 was trending down in a pretty significant steep way. And so yeah, this is looking pretty rough, and just a lot of stuff going on out there. It's been quite challenging to figure out what's happening. So mostly staying on the sidelines. Now it is getting it's getting a little bit choppy in through here. Maybe that's going to build a base and we start moving up. But even if we move up, we have work to do, because a move up does not mean that you've now started a new uptrend. A new uptrend is whenever the moving average starts to turn up like this, and price can follow that moving average to the upside. We are nowhere near that right now, so just give it some time to see what's going on. Then if we go to the UVXY, which is the leveraged ETF of the volatility, there were some things in here giving us some clues that this was going to be moving. And one of them is that I was looking at, first of all, on the daily chart, you had the 8 crossing over the 21. So what that means is that the fast moving average has crossed over the slow moving average, and that is the definition of uptrend, is when the fast moving average is over the slow moving average. So I pointed that out, I guess, just a couple days ago. And then on the hourly chart, we have what I call the 50-200 50 maneuver, and that worked out like a charm. Price got over the 50, then came back down to the 50, tested it for support, and boom, that's where we got this big move. And then so far it's been running the hourly 50. Now this is the volatility, this is UVXY. It's not a real stock, it's just based off of numbers and stuff. And so if the market does right itself, this thing will just go right back down. So this is not a real trading vehicle. It's not something to hold. It's something to make very short, quick trades with. And if this thing does start to roll over and go back down and start to decline, that would be great for the market. So we would love to see that. Now, some of the bigger names. Let me kind of switch over here. So for Amazon, there was one clear thing that I had been looking at, and that was primarily that this big move up here was a double top. Okay, and it was also very extended. You can see it hit the 30 ATR. It was very far away from the hourly 50 and all that kind of stuff. And after that, what I was been telling people is I'm not so sure that price is going to hold the daily 21. So right here, I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. I still think that there's a gap between price and the daily 50, and I said I bet price is going to have to come back down to the daily 50, and there it is right there, back at the daily 50. Now part of the reason why I said that and saw that is because on the hourly chart, you can see here's your Moxie price trigger. You can see that the indicator just kept going down like that, and then what was happening is price was getting stuck and trapped underneath the hourly 50 right in through here, and it was starting to really roll over to the downside, and I thought I don't see any reason why Amazon is just going to start going up from here. It doesn't make any sense. So that's why I was like, yep, it's underneath these moving averages. There's a big gap here on the daily chart, and that should be a reasonable target right there. So Amazon, it's back at the daily 50. Now we're going to have to wait and watch and see if that's going to be support, and look at the lower time frames to see if it does start engaging with those moving averages. And if we go over to Facebook, this one I had always been talking about two different paths with it. And for the long path, I was saying, well, we do have the 50 over the 200, so that's bullish, and we do have price generally trying to stay over the 200. I said that's bullish too. Now, if we are going to continue being bullish, we need to see price stay over the hourly 200 and then eventually get back on top of the hourly 50. So far that never happened. So let me tell you what the other side of what I was saying for Facebook was, just in case the long side didn't work. So the short side would be, well, this was an inverse trampoline move here. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0, which it was. The other thing you can see is that price was trying to push up past a downtrending daily 50, and that can provide some problems too, because just those moving averages are in the wrong direction. They're not going to be supporting price. In fact, I mean, look, the moving average is going down, and price just kind of tried to bounce up into it and got rejected. So not too much of a surprise there. And then near term, we could see right in through here on the hourly chart that price was flagging right smack into the underside of a downtrending hourly 200, and that the Moxie indicator was just falling off and dying like that. So the fact that it finally fell off of the hourly 200, not too much of a surprise. All right, then we get into, let's say, some leaders like Roblox, and wanted to show you some things about this. So first things first, it was super high. We know this. This thing was just way, way, way up there. And I thought, even with a little bit of a pullback and a move up, I'm not sure it's going to have much juice on it. Sure enough, you can see here it kind of did a double top. And what you'll also notice is that price kept trying to move up, but the Moxie indicator kept moving down like that. It's telling you that, hey, this uptrend is not really supported, because if it was supported, we should be seeing the Moxie indicator also move up with it. You can take a little breather, but generally speaking, it should move up like that. And so you can see here that price finally broke off of the hourly 50, and where to go? Daily 21. Fairly common. Now, is this going to keep going to the upside? I sure hope so. Is there more downside first? Yeah, maybe. But we just know that this is not ready for a long entry yet, because it's just pulled back. It's trying to find some support, and we just do not know if it's going to be going up or down yet. So we look at that one, and then another high flyer that's kind of been brought down to its knees is Unity, and you can see here it had a really good run, but it just overbought. Even just from a chart standpoint, overbought, way outside of those 30 ATRs, very far off of the daily 50, all those kind of things. And then you can see here double top, and then here price got rejected by the hourly 50, continued right there, and you can see the Moxie indicator just kept rolling over like that. So now Unity is back down to the daily 50 and to the previous price congestion. I mean, look at that right there. So we're just going to have to see if this is going to hold. Since jumping in and trying to catch that falling knife, that's not your job. And there's just no signs of price turning around on the hourly chart, and so I just don't want to jump in on something like that. You just got to wait. Net and then DDOG had some pretty good examples here on the hourly chart. Once again, we knew, generally speaking, this thing was overbought. It had a heck of a bounce right there, and you could just see it kept pushing up and up and up and up and up, and then there was this giant gap between price and the daily 50. Well, how did that begin? How do you start looking at these things and figure out, okay, when do I need to be in, when do I need to be out, and when do I have a problem? Well, first thing is first, you could see that price was going up and up and up and up, but the Moxie indicator kept going down and down and down. You got to think about it as like a gas tank. That price is trying to go higher and higher and higher on less and less gas, less and less energy. That's what the Moxie indicator is telling you. And then just for visual reference, you get a Moxie price trigger. And that's telling you that the indicator has now gone from positive to negative. It's like, oh, you better pay attention to that. There's something going on here. And yet, price continues to move up. You're thinking, oh, well, maybe the indicator's broken. Nope, the indicator is trying to tell you that momentum has now gone negative. Price can kind of do its own thing for a while, but generally speaking, momentum is going to be where it's at. And you can see that price kept going higher on negative Moxie energy, and that does not last very long. And so sure enough, you can see it finally started getting its move to the downside, decided to bounce, but what did it do? Bounced right smack into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator very, very far below zero. So, if anything, this was a great short spot or short entry, and beyond that, you just gotta wait because there are no signs or signals of this thing's ready to turn around and start moving up. Just nothing. DDOG, DDOG, basically the same thing, so I just wanted to show you how these things look and how they work. Had earnings, it got outside of that third ATR, so very overbought. Even got a gap between price and the 8 EMA, but more so, I'm looking at this giant gap between price and the daily 50. So, what does that look like on the hourly? Well, price was going sideways for quite some time, and then during that time, the Moxie indicator fired down, saying, hey, all of my upward gas and momentum, it's gone, it's done, it's spent. And so sure enough, price came back down, decided to bounce off of something, maybe the hourly 200 here, but then what did it do? Right smack into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator significantly below zero. It doesn't get more perfect than that. If you like to short, boom, there you go. If you need to know where to get out of your long, boom, right there. That is telling you, like nobody's business, that is not a good time to be long this market because, or this name, because the moving average is pointing down, it's trending down, and the Moxie indicator is below zero. So that's a double whammy for don't go in long, and maybe you should consider a short. Right, then let's get into, so GBTC, I know this is not the most perfect indicator or ETF for what we're looking at for the cryptos, but for right now it does the trick for me, and I want to use that because that's kind of what I'm looking at. So actually we got to get to GBTC. Forgot it doesn't carry over with me here. So one thing that I am a little bit concerned about is the kind of this double top. Now I know it's GBTC versus Bitcoin futures. I know Bitcoin futures have made new all-time highs, and that's great, but they're still pulling back. And so if I look at this, that could be some possible resistance. But looking for support, well, it's kind of the same thing. Price below the 50, price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above zero, and the Moxie indicator above zero. So for now, I am looking to see if this is going to be a trampoline move on the daily chart. A trampoline move is when price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is above zero. So that's what this is potentially, and if it works out, it should be a great move. In through here on the hourly chart, let me just move that just a little bit. So the thing about this is it's a double bottom. We're going to have to just see if that double bottom holds. We at least do have some positive divergence, but we're not out of the woods. I mean, we could still have some trouble here on the 15-minute time frame with the Moxie indicator just not quite being ready. So if we're looking at the Bitcoin futures, it basically has a inverted head and shoulders on the hourly chart. We need to see that right shoulder hold if we're going to be moving up. Now Ethereum is looking pretty cool. I hope this doesn't turn into a double top. That would be not so great. And so we're just going to have to see if that happens. But if this is bullish, what I've been looking at is here's the cup right there. And then we need to get a declining handle, and then you can go up like that. Now, I don't know exactly what this is going to look like or anything else, but I basically got what I was looking for. Yesterday in one of the sessions when we saw Ethereum all the way up there, I said, cool, but obviously price is going to come back down. It's going to come back down and find some support some way, mostly because the Moxie indicator is still below zero. And if this works out to the long side, then what we should be seeing is this should generally be a handle. Now, it would have been better if the handle was a little bit softer like this and went longer, but maybe this is enough. to kind of do something. I will caution though, if this is not enough, then this is a double top and price came up, down, maybe up a little bit, and then it's going to roll over like that. So we do need to be cautious about these things. All right, then we'll get to a couple other names that I've been looking at. And actually, let me go. I think this will work. Yeah, there's just not too much to see. So, Bloom Energy, what I've been waiting and looking for and talking for several weeks now is up and through here. I said, hey, that's been a great move, but eventually price is going to have to come back down to test the daily 50. And sure enough, here it is, testing the daily 50. Now, does that mean we just go out and buy it right now? No. But I am keeping a very close eye on it to see if this is a canary in the coal mine, to see if it gets worse, or if it's actually going to be doing well. Because if this does well, there are going to be a lot of other names that are going to be doing well because they're in the same ETF, basically. And on the hourly chart, just showing you what a pullback looks like, or even just a downtrend, look at that. Price has stayed perfectly underneath the hourly 50. The 8 is below the 21 the entire time, and the Moxie indicator is just melting down like that. So that's a great short trade. That's a great move back down if you guys want something like that. Now we are just barely starting to see the Moxie indicator start to kind of just stop going down and start to move up. So green shoots, we're starting to see a little bit of green shoots. And on the 15-minute time frame, you can see that price never held the 15-minute 50 anytime it got over it. And other than that, it's basically just been following it down. There could be some hope here. We are seeing the Moxie indicator up like this. It's kind of a nice tight range. It's near zero, so it does seem as though it's putting some pressure to the upside. But boy, I don't want to be early to this. I want to make sure that the market actually does well and rights itself. FCEL, more or less the same thing as BE, and you can see here that price, giant gap between price and the daily 50 from all the way up here. So what does it do? It pulls back to the daily 50. Now, there's no end in sight yet, but it's one of those things that I think we should be looking for because basically the daily 50 should be support and there could be a trade here. On the hourly, same kind of deal. Price has been following the hourly 50 on down, and then you can see that it's had some bounces, but the 8 stayed under the 21 the entire time. Seeing nothing on the Moxie indicator yet, and then the 15 we do kind of have a little bit, but it's not doing anything because it's just not holding the 15-minute 50 yet at all. So not much going on there. CLSK, just kind of another one in this group. Just want to go around, show you a few things. And you can see here, that's, again, the rule of why you don't just want to catch something or buy something, because if you look at this, CLSK did come back down to the daily 50, and it looked promising. It looked like it was going to hold. Moxie indicators at least coming up a little bit. But you know what? It never held anything. It never held the 15-minute 50 anywhere in here, despite the Moxie indicator up, and then you can see even here got over the hourly 50 twice and could not hold it. And therefore, if it can't hold those moving averages, then they're going to keep going down. And for the time being, this was an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. And then we look at QS. We'll call this quits after this one. And I just want to show you same kind of deal. I'm seeing quite a few names that are in this similar position. They had a great first move. And unless these were just fake out, flash in the pans or something like that, then these look like they should be able to run once they find their footing and kind of go with the market on the next time. That being said, we can also see price got overbought right up here and then also very far away from the third ATR. And then it's been following the hourly 50 all the way up, and then it's been following the 50 all the way down. So that's pretty amazingly clear of how that's working. Now, as far as the bullish case, this is a potential trampoline move. Price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator significantly above zero. That should be a high pressure, high buoyancy type trade. And as long as this thing starts to hold and work to the upside, that should be pretty good for us. And then we just kind of see the same thing on the 15. The indicators have been up, but just not really doing anything. And we are still in a downtrend. We have not turned even the 15-minute time frame. So there's a lot of problems out there, a lot of chaos out there. The market looks real bad. Consolation prize is basically we could be at an extreme reading to the downside. So oftentimes, the capitulation, people finally just throw in the towel, and that's when things turn around to the upside. So if this is just a pullback and you can ride it out, great. But we are going to get a bounce at some point. It's really going to be telling what happens after that bounce, because a bounce. A bounce and a downtrend is just that. We need to then short the bounce, but we really need to make sure that this thing actually holds and finds support if we're going to be going up to the upside. So a lot of unknowns right now. hope you guys stay tuned in, and we'll keep making our best of it. So enjoy that. Come on over to profitpilot.com, and we'll be seeing more of you soon. Thanks again.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.